So we're out here painting a whole office complex today. Got a lot of walls that are going to be rolling, not just this small room right here. And we want to roll these walls fast. And the first tip is to use the proper equipment to paint fast. You can spray this whole office complex. There's a lot of rooms here we can spray it with a sprayer, but then there's going to be just a lot of overspray and dust we don't want to have to deal with. They're going to be replacing the carpet in here, so we don't really need to lay down drop cloths and stuff. And it would be easy to spray, but we like the finish of rolling our walls better, so we're rolling them. And one of the things to rolling walls fast is using a large roller. This is an 18-inch roller. If you want to roll these walls fast, you don't want to use a 9-inch roller or even a 12 or 14. You want to use an 18-inch roller. We're using an 18-inch roller and a 5-gallon pan right here to hold a lot of paint. You got to roll these walls fast. So that is tip number 1, using the proper equipment to paint fast. So tip number 2 to getting your walls to look like a professional did it and painting them fast is using the proper roller. If you use a cheap roller, it's going to release lint on your walls, it's going to be a big mess, and then a cheap roller, is going to cause a lot of splattering, and it's not going to cover your walls as well as a really good quality one. A good quality roller, the proper height, which is the nap, is going to be your best bet to get this thing done fast and like a professional painter did it. If you use a nap that's too short, it's not going to put enough paint on. If you use a nap that's too big, it's going to stipple it too much. So you definitely want to use the proper nap. The most common that we use, probably 95% of the time, is a 3/8" nap. I like a contractor white woven 3/8" nap or a Purdy white woven 3/8" nap. Those work the best for us and leave the best finish. If you don't use high quality tools, you can never get a high quality finish. And using a really cheap nap, you're not going to get the paint on as thick and like it should be put on in a nice, good, even coating. It's just going to take more coats with a cheap nap. It may just cost you maybe $4 more, but it's well worth it because these things can be clean. If they're cleaned properly, they can be used for a lot of jobs. You can use these for just job after job after job, and they'll last a long time if you clean them properly. So tip number 2 is using the proper roller. So tip number 3 is using the proper product. If you use a cheap paint, it's not going to cover very well, it's going to splatter a lot, and it's just going to cause you a lot of issues. So you definitely want to spend the money on a good quality paint. These cheap paints are real watery, milky, and very translucent and just don't go on very well. So definitely spend a few extra dollars and you're really going to be impressed with the product and just the ease of how it goes on and how it covers. I can't express enough, how much you should buy a good quality paint. If you're spending, $4 or $5 more, even $6 more, it's going to eventually pay for itself in the end for the trouble it's going to cause your cheap paint splattering on the floor. But a good quality paint is going to cover better, and then it's even going to go farther. So in the end, it might cost you more money up front, but you're not going to use nearly as much paint as you would cheap paints. So tip number 3 is using a good quality product. So tip number 5 is applying your paint properly and laying out your walls. And we're going to show you what it looks like to apply your paint properly and lay it out. When we're rolling our walls, we're going to be loading up our nap and roller a lot. You don't want to run out of your paint, what we call dry napping it. You're just going to put a lot of paint on there and just do small sections at a time. And you're going to run it here from ceiling to wall when you eventually lay it out. You don't want to just start and stop in the middle of the walls. I'm going to get my paint on there in a section, and then I'm going to either lay it out from top to bottom or bottom to top. I always like, when I get my paint on there, I like to lay it out from the top and roll it all the way to bottom and lay it out. I'm going to show you what that looks like right now here in just a minute. But applying your paint properly and laying it out is what it's going to make it look like a professional painter did it in the end. It's going to give you really good results. If you got really light colors, the layout is not nearly as important as it is with really dark colors, deep bases, and ultra deep bases, where the layout is extremely important. But it's good practice to always lay out your paints no matter what the color is. So here we go. We're going to show you what it looks like, a professional painter rolling on the walls and laying out the paint. The first thing I'm going to do when I get ready to start rolling my walls, I want to just get this roller loaded up with paint really, really good. If you just start rolling right off the bat before it's loaded up, you're going to get just a lot of dry spots. So I'm just going to keep loading this thing up, rolling it on a small spot on the wall right here until this thing gets really saturated and loaded up. And then I'm going to start right here on this wall, and I'll show you what it looks like to roll this thing. So I'm going to keep loading this thing up until I can feel that it's totally loaded up with paint. It's getting pretty close. Well, this thing absolutely saturated. It's starting to, you can hear by the sound when you're rolling it. If it's really dry, it kind of makes a louder sound, louder hissing sound. When it's really wet, you can just hear that wet sound instead of a hissing sound. So that's starting to sound pretty good. Got this thing loaded up, and now I'm going to start rolling the wall. For the purposes of this video, I won't start in the corner right here. Okay, just start right here. What you typically want to do is work from corner to corner around here, but I'm going to start in the middle because the video camera, is set up, that way. So what I'm going to do, we'll just say like the corners, right here. I'm going to work this direction. What I like to do is put my roller right in the middle of the wall and then begin unloading it in that direction, just like that. So I'm going to load it up again because it already ran out of paint. And just get this thing saturated. Load it up again. You can see you want to just keep loading this thing up to get a lot of paint on here. So there's one section right there. Load it up again. Move over a little bit. And I'm not going to do my layout yet until I get a little bit wider of a section. Move over a little bit more. You got an outlet down here I can just work around without having to cut around it with a 4-inch nap. I can do it with my 18-inch roller. You always want to use an extension pole that you don't have to get on ladders and reach. You can use it. This is just a little 2 to 4 foot extension pole. So there I go. Got that section. And I'm going to come back over here, and I like to go from top to bottom, lay it out. From top to bottom, and lay it out. I'm getting up here as close as I can to the ceiling, top to bottom, and lay it out. What we typically like to do is do our cut-ins first. We'd have those done first, but just for video purposes, I wanted to show you how to lay out a wall right here in this room, because this room, the lighting was best, and everything in here first. But you would typically see the ceilings cut in first, and then we would roll up and pass our ceiling cut-ins. So just move over, do another section. Do you see any little holes or anything that you need to spackle? Just make sure you spackle those holes. Just like that. Got another section done. Load up my roller a little bit, and then I'm going to lay this section out. So I'll just go right back over, overlap where I laid it out last time, top to bottom, just like that. All these cool tools I'm using in my videos, in all my videos. These are the tools I really like a lot, and I believe in and trust. You can always find the tools that I use down in the video description below. I always leave a link to them, or you can just find them on my website, theidahopainter.com, where I sell all the tools and accessories that I use in my videos. So just keep working right along. Here, working down the wall. Another one of the keys to painting fast is always keep your bucket of paint, close nearby, so you're not walking to it. That you just have to reach just a little bit to get to it. So I'm going to lay out this section right here. And that layout, that proper layout, is going to make your walls look really good, nice and even. No lap marks, no heavy marks, or holidays anywhere. And here there's no baseboard, so I just go right down to the vinyl floor. I do believe they're going to be replacing these vinyl floors. But go back over, I'll work this way, this wall. Once again, you typically want to work from corner to corner, but I know somebody's going to say something about it, but the only reason I did it this way was because of video purposes. And what I like to do is I like to load my roller up, and I like to place my roller first thing right in the middle of the wall, and then begin unloading it from top to bottom. Once again, load that thing up. Start unloading it from the middle. One more time, loading it up. All the way to the corner. I'm going to get that thing close to the corner. I did have a video where I showed you how to do ceilings. So I've got 5 tips to doing ceilings and doing the edges, and we have a roller that the roller itself, a 9-inch roller, the nap goes over around the corner. And it's really cool for filling in these corners. And so we typically do our cut-ins first, do the corners with that roller so we don't have to brush our corners. It makes it a lot faster. You can see that nap on my ceiling video. Now we got this done, I'm gonna lay it out now. So back over here where I ended my layout, I'm gonna work my way this way, from top to bottom, top to bottom. There you go, that's 5 tips to painting walls, painting them fast, and making them look like a professional did it.